Hello, my name is Mrs. Trevelyan, and today the students in Year 5 will be making an artwork based on Vincent van Gogh's Sunflowers. But first they'll have to view a short documentary to gain the necessary knowledge that is required to undertake the task successfully. This way they are going to be exposed to art history and the culture and the influence that Van Gogh contributed to post-impressionist art community. We'll then conduct a discussion which interprets the sunflower artwork and explore elements such as colour, texture, brushstroke techniques and composition. We will explore how art elements are used to evoke emotions and feelings and use art-specific vocabulary such as impasto, which is a thickly layered paint that Van Gogh is quite famous for, and how that contributed to the overall aesthetics and expression of the artwork. Students will then be ready to start their authentic art experience and their own interpretation of the artwork when making their painting. Strategies for inclusive teaching of diverse learners. So the art lesson's designed to engage students from their own personal starting point, and this may mean differentiation of instruction, so making reasonable adjustments to lesson content, the materials, and scaffold the task for students with additional needs. Allow students to work at their own pace and encourage collaborative learning, so students may discuss and reflect on their own experience and share with others. I'd encourage students to make suitable choices in flexible seating arrangements and apply universal design for learning, which allows students to access information in different formats, printed visual cues, the iPad for visual referencing. Would consider sensory needs, including safe and sensory friendly environment within the classroom, and provide options for sensory breaks. And that might include providing equipment such as noise cancelling headphones and other sensory aids. I would also include a culture for responsible practice, which promotes cultural diversity that respects the values and of students' culture and backgrounds through discussion and exploration of varying artists and artwork. And this might include future lessons in this art unit. I would use explicit instruction that is concise, and it will include visual aids as well as modelling and one-on-one support for students. And I'd allow time to reflect and give feedback and encourage students to reflect on their own experience and use constructive feedback to each other, and that might help them to make improvements for future art lessons. Okay, so safety is something we need to consider within our visual art lesson. The first thing is to make sure that the paint we're using is non-toxic and is clearly labelled. And I would use explicit instructions for safe handling, storage and disposal of paint and other art supplies. Class will ensure that the windows are open, the door is open, so that we have fresh air circulating throughout the room. We turn on the fans, we turn off the air system to ensure fumes are dispersed safely. Students are to wear protective gear like smocks or old shirts or aprons to ensure that their personal clothes are protected and that they use the gear as intended. I just check in with the students, make sure there's no sensitivities or allergies. I would probably check their plan prior to that and just make any necessary adjustments for those students. Then I would model how to use brushes correctly and making sure that the brushes are age appropriate and in good condition, and just handling, I'd model the paintbrush technique, wash it into dirty water first, blot it onto paper, wash it into the clean water, and then it's ready for new colour application. I'd just be aware if there's any emergency procedure planned, such as the emergency fire drill or lockdown, and I probably wouldn't run my visual art lesson during that time. I just make sure that I've got access to the display of emergency numbers that would probably be behind my desk or in my storeroom or somewhere that's accessible to me. I'd ensure that students wash their hands before and after the lesson to remove any residue of paint. And my job would be to maintain supervision throughout the lesson and the activity, and just to reinforce those expected behaviours within the classroom. Okay, so we're back for considerations of classroom organisation, and I would arrange my tables for easy and safe movement throughout the activity. I'd allow, as I said before, flexible seating arrangements, and just consider, the different artistic approaches. And students may want to sit next to their peers whom they can collaborate with and share workspace and materials. I would consider that when they're seating, that they can see the whiteboard or their interactive board for the visual prompts, and just make any adjustments with students with additional needs. For example, they might need printed coloured copies. I would display a waggle and the painting outcome. I'd organise art supplies in an orderly space to allow ease of collection and distribution to the students. I personally would prepare the paint and pour it into art trays and have that near the wet area, and then instruct and assign some students to some jobs and tasks. I'd rotate those students to make sure everybody has a chance to be a taskmaster. I'd ensure that we would go through the steps to create our artwork with a step-by-step guide, and then instructing on art techniques and processes, and giving extra guidance to those students that may need that additional support. I'd model what the plan should look like, so that could be that I show them different stages as they get to it if they're unsure, and I would model how to blend paint and then the paint application onto the art paper. I then have to have a consideration for where the completed artwork will dry, and we might go into a class discussion of where we'd like to display our artwork. It might be within the classroom, it might be outside the classroom wall for the rest of the school community to view. And this way is we do ensure students are showcasing their creativity and their pride in their achievements. And I would make sure that the wet area is clear of clutter, the walkways are easily accessible at all times during the activity.